Hi everybody, welcome to day 2 of my little podcast thing here. My name is Derek and I'm an addict. I'm 44 days clean today. Got my hands on the 12 steps and 12 traditions of Narcotics Anonymous. That's what I was wanting to start this for, is to go through this book and allow you to go through it with me. So I'm going to start out with, saying to accept Jesus in your life, He will save you. He sure saved me. I had a little girl tell me that, that Jesus can save anything. So I put that out there because she told me to. She told me to start this out by telling you that. No names. I don't conceal any names in here or tell any names or anything like that. So I'm going to start the reading. Table introduction. Welcome. The book you have in your hands is a discussion of the 12 steps and 12 traditions of Narcotics Anonymous. We realize that whether written or verbal, no discussion of something as personal and individual as recovery can be all things to all people. This book is not meant to be an exhaustive study of NA steps and traditions, nor is it meant to be final words on any aspect of recovery or NA unity. Rather, it is meant to help you determine your own interpretations of the principles contained in our steps and traditions. We hope you will find personal growth, understanding, and empathy in the following pages. We pray you will be moved to a new level of insight in your recovery and the valuable place you occupy as a member of Narcotics Anonymous. Each member of NA has contributed to this book in some way. Whether you are new to recovery or one of our longtime members, your experience, your support, and above all, your presence in the room where addicts meet and share. Recovery has been the motivating forces behind the production of this book through the process of writing a book about the experience of a fellowship. As diverse as ours has been lengthy, we saw all the barriers and stumbling blocks fade away in the light of our primary purpose, to carry the message to the still suffering addict. That one purpose, clear and powerful, stands alone in our collective subconscious as the only thing that really matters. With that, all is possible and miracles happen. The nature of the recovery process gave us the title for this book. After all, we said and done, one fundamental truth emerged as the crux of our program. It works. The reasons our program works, the how and the why of recovery are found in many places, in each other, in relationships with a higher power, in our hearts and minds, and finally in the collective wisdom of our members. Because our principal endeavors in the development of this book has been the capture of the collective wisdom in written form, we believe the title of this book is most appropriate. It works. How and why. We pray that this book truly represents the therapeutic value of the addicted helping one another. We offer this book as a gift, addict to addict, and hope our love and concern for every addict who is trying our way of life comes across as strongly as we feel it. Please use and enjoy this book. Share it with your friends, your sponsors, and the people you sponsor. After all, it is through sharing with each other that we find our own answer, our higher power, and our own path of recovery. It wasn't until I could open up and share with other like-minded people that I really understood and realized what they had to offer me. We're out there and we're in addiction, we're running around, we think nobody cares about us, or nobody can relate to what we're going through, but that's not the facts. The facts is there's many people out there that's running around. Actually, most of them, a lot of them have it worse than what you do. And it is until you talk to somebody that's like-minded like you, that you build a bond, you build a friendship, and you build someone to lean on. That helps you in your recovery. We all need somebody in life to lean on, We don't all know it all. We need the raw individual to tell us when we're doing wrong. Tell us, get our ass to a meeting. Just to do certain things, that we're in denial about most of the time. So, let's see. Let's go on to read book 1, 12 steps. Let's see, this is just a little little paragraph here I want to read before it starts with step 1. Let's see what it has to say. The purpose of this portion of the book is to innovate members to engage in a journey of recovery and to serve as resources in gaining a personal understanding of the spiritual principles in the 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous. This portion of the book explores the spiritual principles in each step and how we experience them in our lives. We believe that the steps are presented in a manner that encompasses the diversity of our fellowship and reflects of the spiritual awakening described in our 12 steps. Okay, here's the exciting part, because, I read all this in group the other day to, all my peers and everything, so I've read that part before, but I have not read step 1, so, we're doing that together right now. Let's see. I like this little quote or whatever it is they got up here at the top. It's in a little different writing. Got an ant in my shirt or something thrown around. But anyhow, we admitted that we were powerless over our addiction, that our lives had become unmanageable. That's pretty good. I like that. Oh, my shirt. Something thrown around. Guess I'll give a little humor in here and go looking down my shirt. Sorry. Excuse me. Alright. Back on topic. Here goes. As addicts, we have experienced the pain, loneliness, and despair of addiction. Before coming to NA, most of us tried anything we could think of to control our use of drugs. We tried switching drugs, thinking that we would have a problem with one particular drug. We tried limiting our drug use to certain times or places. We may even have vowed to stop using altogether in a certain point. We may have told ourselves we would never do the things we watched other addicts do, then found ourselves doing those very things. Nothing we tried had any lasting effect. Our active addiction continued to progress, overpowering even the best intentions. Alone, terrified of what the future held for us, we found a fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous. As members of Narcotics Anonymous, our experience is that addiction is a progressive disease. The progression may be rapid or slow, but it is always downhill. As long as we are using drugs, our lives will steadily get worse. It would be impossible to precisely describe addiction in a way that is agreeable to everyone. However, the disease seems to be affected use in the following general ways. Mentally, we become obsessed with thoughts of using. Physically, we develop a compulsion to continue using, regardless of the consequences. Spiritually, we become totally self-centered in the course of our addiction. Looking at addiction and a disease makes sense to a lot of addicted because, in our experience, addiction is a progressive, incurable, and can be fatal unless arrested. In Narcotics Anonymous, we deal with every aspect of our addiction, not just in most obvious symptoms. Our uncontrollable drug use, the aspects of our disease, are numerous. By practicing this program, we each discovered a way in which addiction affects us personally. Regardless of the individual's effect of the addiction on our lives, all of us share some common characteristics through working the first step. We will address the obsession, the compulsion, the denial, what many have termed a spiritual void. As we examine and acknowledge all of these aspects of our disease, we start to understand our powerlessness. Many of us have problems with the ideal that as addicts we are obsessed and compulsive. This ideal that these words apply to us may have made us cringe. However, obsession and compulsion are aspects of our powerlessness. We need to understand and acknowledge these presence in our lives, in our admission of powerlessness, and to be completed obsession for use in this never-ending stream of thoughts relating to use, drugs, running out of drugs, getting more drugs, or so on. We simply can't get these thoughts out of our mind. In our experience, compulsion is the irrational impulse to continue using drugs. No matter what happens as a result, we just stop. We address obsession and compulsion here as they relate to our drug use. Because when we first come into the program, our drug addiction is how we identify with each other, and the program, as we continue in our recovery, will be seeing how these aspects of our addiction can manifest themselves in many areas of our lives. Denial is the part of our disease that makes it difficult if not impossible for us to acknowledge reality in our addiction. Denial protected us from seeing the reality of what our lives had become. We often told ourselves that given the right set of circumstances, we might still be able to bring our lives under control. Always skillful to defend our actions, we refused to accept responsibilities for the damage done by our addiction. We believed that if we tried long and hard enough, substituted one drug for another, switched friends, or changed our living arrangements or occupation, our lives would improve. These realizations repeatedly failed us, yet we continued to cling to them. We denied that we had a problem with drugs, regardless of our evidence to the contrary. We lied to ourselves, believing that we could use again successfully. We just justified our actions despite the wreckage around us resulting from our addiction. The spiritual part of our disease, the part we may recognize only by feeling of emptiness or loneliness when we first get clean, and perhaps one of the most difficulty aspects of addiction for us, because this part of our disease affected us so profoundly and so personally. We may be overwhelmed when we think about applying a program of recovery to it. However, we need to keep in mind that recovery doesn't happen overnight for anyone. Rome wasn't built overnight. Even the world wasn't put together overnight. God had to have 7 days, 7 nights. As we start to look at the effects of our disease, we are sure to see that our lives have become unmanageable. We see it in all things that are wrong with our lives again. Our experiences are individual and vary widely from addict to addict. Some of us realize our lives have become unmanageable because we felt out of control emotionally or began to feel guilty about our drug use. Some of us had lost everything: our homes, our families, our jobs, our self-respect. Some of us never learned how to function as human beings at all. Some of us have spent time in jail, institutions, and some of us have come very close to death. Whatever our individual circumstances are, lives have been governed by the obsessed, compulsive, self-seeking behavior, and the end result has been unmanageability. Perhaps we arrived in NA without recognizing the problem we had for what they were. Because of our self-centeredness, we were often the last one to realize that we were addicts. Many of us were persuaded by friends or families to begin attending NA meetings. Other members received even stronger encouragement from the courts. No matter how it occurred, our long-standing illusions had to be shattered. Honesty had to replace denial honesty had to replace denial before we could face the truth of our addiction. Yeah, you got to be honest with yourself. Tell yourself, man, I need help. Something's going on here. This ain't right. I deserve better. My family deserves better. My kids deserve better. I'm cheating everybody out of time with me. Until you reach that point and you want to get better, there ain't nobody or nothing going to make you go. Even if the courts send you, if you ain't ready for it, you're just going to go back to prison. You're going to do whatever the situation is. It's not going to work until you can accept that you have a problem and be self-aware. It's not going to work. But I still encourage anybody, even if you don't feel ready, just go to a meeting. Find you a meeting. Find you somebody to talk to. If you're feeling depressed, find somebody that'll listen. Many of us recall the moments of clarity when we came face to face with our disease. All the lies, all the pretenses, and all the rationalizations we had used to justify where we stood as a result of our drug use stopped working. Who and what were become more clear. We could no longer avoid the truth. We have found that we cannot recover without the ability to be honest. Many of us came to NA after spending years participating in dishonesty. However, we can learn to be honest, and we must begin to try learning to be honest in an ongoing process. We are able to become progressively more honest as we work the steps and continue to stay clean. It is the first step we begin to practice the spiritual principles of honesty. By admitting the truth about our drug use, then we go on to admit the truth about our lives. We face what is not the way things could be or should be. It doesn't matter where we come from or how good or bad we think we've had it. When we finally turn to Narcotics Anonymous and the 12 steps, we begin to find relief. As we begin working the first step, it is important to ask ourselves some basic personal questions. Can I control my use of drugs? Am I willing to stop using? Am I willing to do whatever it takes to recover? Given a choice between finding a new way of life in NA and continuing in our addiction, recovery began to appeal to us. We began to let go of our reservations, that part of ourselves we won't surrender to the program. Most of us do have some reservations when we first get clean. Even so, we need to find a way of addressing them. Reservations can be anything, a belief that because we never had a problem with one particular drug, we can still use it, placing a condition on our recovery, such as only staying clean as long as our expectations are met, a belief that we can still be involved with the people associated with our addiction, a belief that we can use again after a certain amount of time, clean, a conscious or unconscious decision to work only certain steps with the help of other recovering addicts. We can find ways to put our reservations behind us. The most important thing for us to know about reservations is that by keeping them, we are reserving a place in our program for relapse. Recovery begins when we start to apply the spiritual principles contained in the 12 steps of NA to all areas of our lives. We realize, however, that we cannot begin this process unless we stop using drugs. Total abstinence from all drugs is the only way we can begin to overcome our addiction. While abstinence is the beginning of our only hope for recovery, it is profound emotional and spiritual change. Our experience shows that it is necessary for us to be willing to do anything it takes to obtain this precious gift of recovery. In recovery, we will be introduced to spiritual principles such as surrender, honesty, and acceptance, required for the steps. If you faithfully practice these principles, they will transform our perceptions and the way our lives are lived. When we first begin to practice these principles, they may seem very unnatural to use. In many, it may take a deliberate effort on our part to make honest admission called for in step 1. Even though we are admitting our addiction, we may still wonder if this program will really work. Acceptance of our addiction is something that goes beyond our conscious admission. When we accept our addiction, we gain the hope of recovery. We begin to believe on a deep level that we too can recover. We begin to let go of our doubt and truly become to terms with our disease. We become open to change the surrender as we work on the first step. We find that surrender is not what we thought it was in the past. We probably thought of surrender as something that only weak and cowardly people did. We saw only two choices: either keep fighting to control our using, or just cave in completely and let our lives fall to pieces. We felt we were in battle to control our using, and that if we surrendered, the drugs would win. In recovery, we find that surrender involved letting go of our reservations about recovery and being willing to try a different approach to living life. The process of surrender is extremely personal for each one of us. Only we as individuals know when we've done it. We stress the importance of surrender, for it is very process that enables us to recover. I just want to take this time to say, if you hear any backup noise, just keep in mind that I do share a housing place with other people, and you might hear backup sounds and stuff of other people. Just keep in mind and don't pay attention to it. Just focus on what I'm saying. Thank you. When we surrender, we know. Did you talk to him? In our hearts that we had enough. We are tired of fighting. Relief comes over us as we finally realize that the struggle is over. No matter how hard we fought, we finally reached a point of surrender where we realized that we couldn't stop using drugs on our own. We were able to admit our powerlessness over our addiction. We gave up completely, even though we didn't know exactly what would happen. We gathered up our courage and admitted the powerlessness we gave in the illusion that we couldn't control our using, thereby opening the door to recovery. Many of us begin the process of surrender when we identified ourselves at the NA meeting with our name and the words. Hi, my name is Derek and I'm an addict. Once we admitted that we are addicts and that we cannot stop using our own, we were able to stay clean on a daily basis with the help of other recovering addicts. In Narcotics Anonymous, the paradox of this admission is evident. Once we work the first steps, as long as we think we can control our drug use, we are almost forced to continue. The minute we admit we're powerless, we never have to use again. This reprieve from having to use in the most profound gift we can receive, for it saves our lives. Through our collective experience, have found that we can accomplish together what we cannot do alone. It's necessary for us to seek help from others recovering addicts. As we attend meetings regularly, we can find great comfort in the experience of those traveling this path with us. Coming to NA has been described by many people as coming home. We find ourselves welcomed and accepted by other recovering addicts. We finally find a place where we belong. Though we are sure to be helped by the sharing we hear at meetings, we need to find sponsors to help us in our recovery. Beginning with the first step, a sponsor can share with us his or her own experience with the steps, listening to our sponsor's experience and applying it to our own lives, and how we take advantage of one of the most beautiful and practical aspects of recovery, the therapeutic value of the addicted helping another. We hear in our meetings that I can't, but we can. Actively working with a sponsor will give us some first-hand experience with this through our developing relationship. With our sponsor, we learn about the principles of trust. By following the suggestions of our sponsor instead of only one ideal, we learn the principles of open-mindedness and willingness. Our sponsors will help us work the steps of recovery. Talking honestly with our sponsors about our drug use and how it affected our lives will help us work the first step throughly. We need to always remember where we came from and where our addiction took us. We have only a daily reprieve from our active addiction. Each day we accepted the facts that we cannot use drugs successfully. The process of recovering isn't easy. It takes great courage and perseverance to continue recovery day after day. Part of the recovery process is to move forward in spite of whatever may stand in our way. Because long-lasting change in recovery happens slowly, we will turn to the first step again and again. Even long periods of abstinence do not guarantee us continued freedom from the pain and trouble that addiction can bring. The symptoms of our disease can always return. We may find that we are powerless in ways we never imagined. This is where we begin to understand how the things we tried so hard to control are, in reality, completely beyond our control. No matter how our disease displays itself, we must take a deadly nature into account. As we do, we develop a fuller awareness of the nature of our disease. The disease of addiction can manifest itself in a variety of mental obsessions and compulsive actions that have nothing to do with drugs. We sometimes find ourselves obsessed and behaving compulsively over things we may never have had problems with until we stop using drugs. We may once again try to fill the awful emptiness of something, filled with something outside ourselves. Anytime we find ourselves using something to change the way we feel, we need to apply the principles and the first steps. We are never immune from having our lives become unmanageable. Even after years of recovery, if problems pile up and the resources for coping with them dwindle, we may feel out of control and in too much pain to do anything constructive for ourselves. We feel overwhelmed by life, and that feeling seems to make everything worse. When our lives seem to be falling apart, we reapply ourselves to the basics of the NA program. We stay in close contact with our sponsors, work the steps, and go to meetings. We surrender again, knowing that victory lies in the admission of defeat. The feeling of love, acceptance we find in the fellowship of Narcotics Anonymous allows us to begin recovering from addiction. We learn a new way to life. The emptiness from which we suffered and filled through working and living the 12 steps, we learn that our addiction is being addressed in its complexity by this simple program. We found a solution to our hopelessnesses. There is deeply spiritual nature to our program of recovery. The 12 steps of Narcotics Anonymous will take us on a journey that will far exceed our expectations. Working and living the steps will lead us to a spiritual awakening. Step 1 is the beginning of the spiritual journey. To get started on this journey, we must become willing to surrender to this program. And in principles for our future hinge on our willingness and grow spiritually. We are starting a new way of life. One thing offers great joy and happiness. However, recovery doesn't exempt us from the pain. Living life on life's terms combines moments of happiness with moments of sadness. Wonderful events are mixed with painful ones. We will experience a full range of feelings about the events in our lives. By honestly looking at what we have become in our addiction, we recognize the powerlessness and unmanageability of our lives. Moving beyond our reservations, we accept the addition, surrender, and experience the hope that recovery offers. We realize that we can no longer go on as we have been. We are ready for change. We're willing to try another way. With our willingness, we move on to step 2. So, wait a minute.
Turn it down a little bit, please. My bad. Hey,
Yes, sir.
are you doing your thing today?
Yeah, I'm what I'm doing right now.
Oh yeah.
I'm back. I'm sorry. Let's see. Step 2. On step 1, I see the, because this is the first time I've read this and everything, so it sees that I've already done step 1. I have surrendered to the powerlessness that I have a problem. I was a drug addict. Like I said, I pushed the buggy around, getting junk to feed my addiction, to eat. I lived in the woods for probably 8 months. I had like a 20 by 30 tarp up in the woods. Had it all the way up like TP style. Had a hole cut in the roof with a fireplace and everything. You name it, I've probably done it. Besides, I never lost my morals in my addiction. I never went around stealing from people, and after I left prison and everything, I was clean 5.5 years before I relapsed. I never. For a little bit, I was selling crack cocaine until my truck broke down. And in all honesty, my truck broke down, probably saved my life. Because then I was stuck on the streets, and during that time on the streets, I couldn't afford crack cocaine, so therefore I went to ice, methamphetamines, and I was IV user. That's something I'm not proud of, but just to be honest, I got to be honest to do this book. So, I was an IV user, but luckily, I did not use very hard. I might make $20 at the junkyard. I like to eat. There's a fat kid inside of me screaming to get out, I think, because I'd go across the road and get me a hot and ready and go get me a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of pop, and I like those little zebra donuts, and get me some of those, and I might have had $2 or $3 left over. Maybe enough for just a little bit of what I wanted, Might have used, fortunately, I might have used maybe twice a week, and that's being honest. Luckily, God was on my side and didn't allow me to fall too deep this time like I did before I went to prison. I had my time at another treatment center. I had blood work done and everything. I figured for sure that I had hep or something. You know what I mean? Come on. It's just, man, when you're out there, it's crazy what you do. But I'd pick up needles or whatever off the ground and use them and stuff just because they had more numbers on them, if I got to be honest, I'm not proud of it. I'm not proud of it by no means, But I was always scared of, I held all this in because I was scared of the way people would look at me, because I remember being on the other side of the fence, and I remember feeling how I felt looking at other people that done that. And I didn't want people to look at me that way, But to do this program and to do the 12 steps, I have to be honest with myself as well as honest to my peers. No matter how much it might hurt me or whatever, or maybe hurt somebody else in return. Recovery is selflessness, I'm worried about myself because, like I said in my last time, I can't help anybody if I don't work on myself. So I got to fix myself. And, I'm not perfect by no means. So yeah, I'm not perfect with that. But, and all in all, I made sure I had it decent. I made sure that I had food. I lost so much weight, mostly from pushing a buggy around town. to be honest with you. You know, I mean, that's the truth. You know, I mean, I'd push Buggy Claire to Walmart and all the way back to Wayne Hills and Portsmouth. You know, I mean, and when you got it full drunk, a couple 100 pounds, and it's 90 degrees outside, you know, it's hard to keep weight on, you know. And that's the truth, you know. I mean, like I say, I slept in the woods for the last 8 months or so, slept in abandoned houses. I mean, it wasn't fun, but you know, the time that I spent in the woods, I think it was the, how can I put this? It was the center point of realizing that I needed help, maybe. I mean, it's not that I didn't like living in the woods. I mean, I love the woods. I love nature, you know what I mean? But I just deserve more, you know? My peers deserve more. My kids deserve more. I love my kids with all my heart. I can't wait to see them again. I hope someday they watch these and see how much I love them and you know, just, you know, I just want to set a good role model for my kids. I want them to look at me like I look at my dad. Like, you know, there's no one else on this earth like him. You know what I mean? I want them to be like, you know, I'm proud that's my dad. You know, and that's what I strive for, things like that. You know, I know, you know, a person shouldn't seek approval, you know what I mean, but it's my kids, and I love them, and I always want them to know that I'll be there for them, no matter what, you know. And me working on myself and getting clean is going to allow me to be consistent in their lives. Because that's what we all got to be, is consistent. Because if we haven't got consistency, then your word ain't no good. And if your word ain't no good, then what are you as a man? Let's see here. I had a little paper I was wanting to go over. If I can find it, excuse me for a second. You know, I've been, writing in a journal every day. Just a little simple journal. I was kind of doodling earlier on it, if you can see that, I don't know. But anyhow, since I came here, I've been writing in this journal every day. And, you know, the reasons behind this is, you know, I like to be able to look back on it. It's even got the little things here where you can mark the day and then mark if it's sunny or whatever. But I think that's pretty neat. I've been doing this for my kids. That way, you know, I can give this to them when I complete this program. I can give this to them, and it's like they kind of did it with me, you know what I mean? Like they could see what their dad went through to make sure he was a good person and worthy to be in their lives. So, let's see what this here is. Okay, this is relevant. I don't think I read this last night. Yeah, we don't need that. This here, we need. I want to read this. You know, we'll go over step 3 tomorrow. I know it's lengthy. I know it's a few pages, but you're just going to bear with me. You just might learn something. I might say something that triggers you to want to go get help. Might trigger you to want to reach out to me, or whatever you want to do as such. So we got here, on this paper here, you know, July 30th is when I got this, I think. Or maybe the date's wrong, I don't know. But anyhow, I like to read this, and you know, it's just regular inventory, you know what I mean? Continuing to take a personal inventory means that we form a habit of looking at ourselves, our actions, attitudes, and relationships on a regular basis. Taking a regular inventory is a key element in our new pattern of living. In our addiction, we examine ourselves as little as possible. We weren't happy with how we were living our lives, but we didn't feel that we could change the way we lived. Self-examination, we felt, would have been a painful exercise in futility. Interesting. Today, all of this is changing. Where we were powerless over addiction, we found a power greater than ourselves that has helped us stop using. I found that power. I found a reason to live. You know, and it's just as much for me as it is my peers, my dad, my mom, my kids, my brothers, you know, my sisters. You know, I mean, it's just as much for me as it is them, you know, because if I don't love myself, how in the world can I love anybody else? And I love myself. I'm amazing. I tell myself that every day. Actually, I tell myself I'm sexier than heck every day. So, tomato, tomato. You know what I mean? So, back this. Where we once felt lost in life's maze, we found guidance in the experience of our fellow recovering addicts. In our ever-improving contact with our higher power, we need not to feel trapped by our old destructive patterns. We can live differently if we choose to. By establishing a regular pattern of taking our own inventory, we give ourselves the opportunity to change anything in our lives that doesn't work. If we started doing something that causes problems, we can start changing our behavior before it gets completely out of hand. And if we're doing something that prevents problems from occurring, we can take note of that. 2, and encourage ourselves to keep doing what works. Just for today, I will make a commitment to include a regular inventory in my new patterns of life. You know, I mean, I think that's very important to do inventory. I mean, it kind of checks yourself. You know what I mean? It makes sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do to keep positive thoughts, positive vibes, and that right vibration to where you're doing something right in life and you're moving forward and you're not thinking about that old addiction. All you're thinking about is progression. Progression over addiction. I'd rather progress any day than be addicted. We're done with that. All right. At this time, I have wrote something, you know, from my dad. I've read it on here before, but I want to read it again in case people didn't hear it. I'm a little tired, a little hungry. We don't need those. I got it. Anyhow, I wrote this song for my dad when I was in a different treatment center. I'll give you a little backstory on it. You know, the first couple of days I was there, I couldn't sleep. I guess maybe where I was just sleeping in the woods. You know, I found peace in hearing the crickets chirp and the raccoons jumping up in my bed, taking my snacks and stuff like that. You know, but when I was laid down, I was so restless. You know, I really didn't detox from nothing. You know, I was just real restless, and I just had these words in my head, and they just sound like that's coming together, and just like they rhymed real good, you know what I mean? I was like, damn, man, I might be a poet, didn't know it, you know what I mean? So, I wrote this little song thing for my dad, you know, I might mess up on it when I'm reading it, and I'm not going to sing it. I'll have to get some tunes to drown out my voice, so, but I would like to share it again, you know what I mean? So, I mean, here it goes. I come from South Webster, just a little old town. I was blessed with more opportunities than most around. I walked through school with my head held high. I thought I knew it all, to my surprise. I fell slave to addiction. I was on the ice. Made it to my 30s before they sent me to CCI. Now I'm sitting in prison. I feel like cry. I'm feeling so ashamed, my heart won't let me lie. How am I going to fix this in my dad's eyes? I'm sorry I did this. Dad, please don't cry. I'm still your little boy with blue in his eyes. Just if I would have listened, I'd still be by your side. I feel so ashamed I let you down. How am I going to fix this? Dad, all I can do is try. Please don't cry for your little boy with blue in his eyes. I love you more than life. I love you more than life. Hey, Dad, I'm on the rise. I'm going to be everything you wanted me to be when you looked into the blue in your little boy's eyes. Looking into the future, I'll be standing by your side. I'll promise you a hell of a ride. Thanks for not giving up on me when I'd given up on myself. All I want to do is fix this. Dad, forgive me for my deceit. Thanks for putting me back on my feet. You're certainly part of the elite. The best dad in the world you are to me. Tougher than Superman, you don't have nothing on you. Smarter than Albert Einstein, sure should I listen to you. Now it's in the past, not going to hold me back. It's going to happen fast. I'll be damned if I finish last. Not going to be another obituary for others to read. I'm going to beat this addiction. I'm going to kick its ass. I'll not finish last. No, you're not going to take me. I'm not ready to die and put cry in my dad's eyes. Dad, thanks for listening and hearing my cry. I promise I got this. Let's go have a piece of pie so you can see the blue in your little boy's eyes. Your little boy's eyes. So I wrote that for my dad. I don't know. I might get some controversy about it. I don't know. I mean, but it's my writing. It's my dad, so I can say what I want. And it made me feel good to write it, you know. Because I love my dad. He's like my biggest supporter. He's always there for me. He's always picking me up, brushing my butt off, and kicking me in the ass and telling me to keep on going, you know. So for that, you know, my bald head, hats off for him. And I appreciate him more than he'll ever know. So at this time, I'd like to read you the, take it back. I didn't start this till the 4th day I was in there. But I'd like to read you my first entry. It's not very long. It says, this is my 4th day. I'm going to leave the name where I'm at out. I've been there a couple times. I feel great. My stress level's a 0. My day is a 10. I worked on getting my food assistance back today and should receive them within the next 7 to 10 business days. I like being productive and getting things I need done, accomplished. It is a good feeling. I'm much further along in my mind than I had expected, and I'm still here, still doing what counts, and that's working on myself. I'm happy I found my smile just for today. I'm proud of myself. This is the first time that I've done this, kept a journal while I was in there in recovery, or any time I've been in recovery. I mean, you know, as a teenager, I used to love writing in a journal and stuff. You know, I'd write all my deepest secrets and stuff in there. It was something I didn't want anybody else to read. This here's a little different, and I really can't put a name on it. It's more than just a journal. You know what I mean? It's my life journey, or my journey through treatment. You know, and I want to share it with everybody, because I want to be able to help people. I want people to get off the stupid stuff and know that no matter how low you get, you have somebody out there that loves you. I assure you, you do. It's hard to get people to be by your side when you're in active addiction. But I'm telling you, as soon as you leave the drugs alone, it's like your true friends come out of the woodwork. That's straight up. It's like winning the lottery and all the drug addicts want you. Well, you do good, it's like winning the lottery. You get off drugs, it's like winning the lottery. All your true friends and family come to you, and they're there to help you. So I hope, man, you take my advice, or anybody that's watching, they take my advice. And if you are in active addiction, you know, it's not my business unless you want to share it. If you want to share it, just inbox me privately. And anything you say to me will stay private. Your business is not everybody's business. But if I can help you with your business, then I have a listening ear. So please tune in tomorrow. Share this to your friends. Comment if you want to. Like it. I appreciate it. And God bless all of you, and I love all of you very much. And I hope the best for each and everybody. Peace.